Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel where we review anything and everything. And today we are getting into this Lego set 76342. This is a 10 plus set. This is Spider-Man versus Mysterio, the Daily Bugle set. It's 781 pieces. Now I was actually excited about this. This is connecting with that wave of Spider-Man sets that recently came out where you had Peter Parker's apartment, you had the little corner store that's connected with Miles Morales, you have the Oscorp, which obviously connected with Green Goblin, and you know, it comes with a few other figures, but that was the main person who was going hand in hand with. And then here you have now you have the Daily Bugle, which, you know, was kind of going hand in hand with J. Jonah Jameson, you know, connecting the main characters who either owns these buildings or are most associated with these buildings. And obviously it comes with a bunch of extra figures. So one thing I really like is a lot of these sets in general come with a lot of figures per the size or price of the sets. And I think that's kind of why some of the sets, the Oscorp one feels a little bit pricey, but I think that one comes with even more figures than this one. This one comes with a total of, I believe it's 7 figures. You have Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Ghost Spider, which is the same as Spider-Gwen, but Spider-Gwen is her is like the name, her name to the readers, and Ghost Spider is her name in the universe. J. Jonah Jameson, Venomized Captain America, which is definitely very unique, Mysterio, and Rhino. So once again, like I said, I was actually pretty excited about this set, and I was never interested in buying the other Daily Bugle set, which I know is a really good set, which is very large, huge, it's iconic, but for me it was a little too much in terms of just the massiveness, the scale. It wasn't really something that I was interested in. And to be honest with you, at the time of the recording of this video, I actually have that set, but I'm planning on getting rid of it and selling it because, like I said, it wasn't something that was in my plans to actually normally buy and keep. Now, this is a smaller scale, but it's a little more manageable for the type of sets that I wanted to actually have in display and kind of really just kind of fiddle around with. So you got 4 floors on it, similar to the larger scale one, but obviously just more in smaller scale. So we're definitely going to get into this. After the finished build, you can see it's modular, and all the Spider-Man sets are modular like that. So I really find that to be pretty cool. That it's almost like its own little pocket universe in terms of its modularity. Not to the level that would be modular with the regular Lego modular series, even though in a way you can connect with those if you had put those on regular plate size plates. There are aftermarket ones that you can do that with. And I know because I tested this out to connect it to my museum, my modular boutique museum. I'm sorry, not museum, boutique hotel, where I was doing a video comparing it to Galactus, and I took my Spider-Man set because I wanted to compare him to that set, and I was able to connect them because they were on the same height level. So I just want to throw that out there. So you can connect it to your other modular sets, but it's almost like its own individual kind of space, its own little universe, pocket universe of Spider-Man stuff, but Spider-Man scale with their buildings. Like I said, they have like at least about, off the top of my head now, 3 other buildings associated with the sets. I do want to get the store. I wanted it to go on a better sale, but I've only seen it about like $10 off, where I've seen the Peter Parker's apartment, which I viewed on the channel before, at least about like $15 off. So I was hoping that maybe the store, Miles Morales, a corner store, can go down to like about $15 off. I'll see. But anyway, it's definitely something I want to get. But like I said, let's jump into this because I am super glad that I was able to get this quite early. All right, let's rip into this here. I try my best not to completely destroy the box when I get into these, but I think in this case, I'm just gonna push the pole punches because it does get annoying sometimes trying to get around them, and it almost becomes harder trying to get into the box otherwise. Let's angle this a little bit down so we can see the context of the box. How many bags are we working with here? So that is bag 3. Let's just dump these all out. This is our instruction booklet. We've got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bags and a little extra tiny bag. So we're gonna get into this build and we will be back. Okay, I forgot to open up the little package with the booklet in it because I normally always try to display the stickers if I can. And you can see this one has a lot of stickers with this set, which is, I think, for the amount of pieces, this is kind of an overabundance of stickers, but nonetheless, it is what it is. I'm not one of those people who are anti-sticker or not. I don't know for the long haul how long they will last, so that's always a thing where prints probably are always going to stand out to be better. You do have 3 booklets, so they give it in parts. Even though it's a 10+ set, they do put it in parts. So yeah, we have Spider-Man and the Rhino as the first part, the little side build, which is kind of cool. There's actually 2 builds inside this to a degree because you can see that there's a line splitting them. And so and as they showed on the back of the box, so either one can be put on either side of the building. And then obviously the last build is the Daily Bugle itself. So let's get into it. All right, guys, we are back with the finished build, and this wasn't really a hard build for the amount of pieces. I felt like it flowed very easy, but also too, it's really nice. And I think this build is actually very customizable. We're gonna get into that in a little bit. But before we do any of that, before anything else, and we go over the figures, anything like that, I just want to do a couple of little comparisons and little things I want to have side by side with it first before we get into all the more finished details. So first, one thing I want to do is just bring in Spider-Man's apartment, Peter Parker's apartment, because I happen to have that on hand. And here you go, just to give you a sense of its scale and size next to it. So that is the height on that. Move our angle up a little bit more. So that way we can kind of get it a little bit more in frame. Yeah, so I think like it's following that same kind of pattern, the same design, same brick coloring too. Not that every building has to be the same color, but I think it looks really cool. Obviously Peter Parker's thing is 2 stories high, and those floors are pretty much the same height roughly as this one, where it's a little bit higher because the roof part brings it up a little bit higher. But then again, so does this one's roof when you get to the top point. But essentially that's 2 floors here. That's 4 floors here. So it's kind of cool that all that kind of goes hand in hand in that relative scale. And another thing I'm going to bring into the scene is Galactus, because I just got to do it. I love this figure so much. I just think he's so awesome. And you can see right there his height comparison. He is pretty much right at the tip of his point at his hat is pretty much the same height as the top roof part of the Daily Bugle. So yes, that is really awesome that he's that tall. So he fits so well with the scaling of the Spider-Man line. And also too, I just want to make note that you can combine the obviously with these little connector pieces, you can combine, they're like modular, so you can combine them all together if you need to. Like I said, the Spider-Man set, the Peter Parker's apartment is the only other set that I have, and but it can be paired with this. I'm not going to do the whole connection thing. There are plenty of videos that do that, but I mean, you get the idea. Modular points on this side here, and Jonah wasn't locked in. And then you have the modular points on the back here, as well as this stand right here can come off. And I really like this little stand because you really are getting a nice little newsstand connected with this set, because you don't really get a lot of newsstands. I mean, there was one, a more beefed out one for the Tudor corner in terms of a gift with purchase. But, you know, once that's out of like production, as far as you being able to get it, then you can't. So I like that, you know, this includes this. Obviously it fits because it's a newsstand set, but I mean, that is something you could take off and put it somewhere further away to say this is the newsstand representing the Daily Bugle. So I think that's really cool. So once again, before getting into all the rest of the figures, I want to make one other comparison first. And that is, I just wanted to show the scale of, let me bring this down. the scale of a big figure like the Hulk versus the Rhino suit. And I think it's really cool. This suit is really like a hybrid of the ultimate version of Rhino, which would be in the same universe that Miles Morales originally came from. I'm not 100% on the details of the storylines, how that worked, if Miles Morales crossed over into the normal Marvel universe, but in the ultimate universe, Rhino had a suit. And so that's where they came up with that concept, as a man inside a mechanical suit. Whereas obviously the original Rhino was a man who was bulked up and beefed up, not as big as the Hulk, but within that kind of basis, like bigger than a regular man. He was I know his actual measurements, he was 6'5" and he weighed 710 pounds, at least back in the 90s in the comics. So, so this is kind of a mix of that, because here you could see that even though he's not a big figure, they do have like the armor piecing, the horns on him, and it does kind of make him a little more beefed up, a little more akin to the Thing figure. How they, you know, put the headpiece on him to make him a little bit beefier and bigger in the hands. So I just wanted to make that kind of comparison to show how he looks side by side with the Hulk. I think it's a nice size, so it's not overly too big, but it's within scale to these. So I think that was really cool. So now let's jump into the figures real quick. Then we'll go into the build set. So grabbing all of these guys really quickly. And it comes with a very good amount of figures, and that part to me is really awesome. We have 7 characters, which I don't know how people might feel about the value of this set. I actually think it's not a bad value. It's $100. Link's gonna be in the description down below for you guys to grab this on Amazon. And what I really do like on it is I do feel you're getting a good amount for the money. I'm not saying it's a great value, but you are getting this full building. It has a lot of stuff going on with it, but you also have these figures, and you get 7 figures. And I feel like nowadays, especially when it comes to like Star Wars, you don't get a lot of figures with much. And so here it's nice to get a bunch of these figures, and a lot of them have accessories. So taking a look at J. Jonah Jameson first, you see he's got the alternate face. And from my understanding, this was an exclusive figure to the other Daily Bugle, and then now you get him here, or at least the face print. So that's actually pretty cool. Spider, Ghost Spider, or AKA Spider-Gwen. Nothing on the back side of the face. You can see her torso design. Pretty much of a simple character, very similar to the other Miles Morales. There was one that came with a Venom mech set that had a very similar vibe. Here goes the Rhino, and now he has 2 faces as well. You can see that armor on him looks really nice. So even if you just want to have him as a figure without being in his mech suit, he's still very cool. And I still think that he works even at, it's funny when it comes to scales, because like I said before, you look how they made the Thing character. The Thing stands at 6 feet and he normally is 500 pounds. If you look in a lot of media, especially say the new, more recent movie that he was in, he doesn't look oversized big, and he's not supposed to be oversized big. So like when you think about the idea, some people complain that he wasn't in a big figure, and you could equally say Rhino should be in a big figure as well if you want to make the argument, because he actually is bigger than the Thing. But there becomes a point where it's too big, you know what I mean, within scale of Lego, because a regular minifigure is supposed to be about 6 feet tall, roughly. So when you incorporate a minifigure being, like, say, as big as Hulk here, you essentially are making them, he's like something close to like 10 to 12 feet tall, you know what I mean? So it kind of is too big. Even though people like seeing it, it really kind of is too big. Here we have the Captain America, symbiote Captain America. You see his shield is all covered in the symbiote suit. You got the face with the half on it, and then you got that same A at the top there, which is kind of cool. And then you also have it on the mask. And he looks equally as good with the mask as he does without it, to be honest with you. So like you could go either or. The whole rest of the mask, other than the emblem on top, is kind of some blue, and the rest is covered in the black. See some of the black costume coming over him. He's dual molded, so that's cool. He's got his boot. They really put a lot of work into this figure, which is interesting, because no figure seemed to have gotten this type of level detail from the Spider-Man figures, at least. So you can see that. So it definitely looks really nice. gonna keep this magnification, and we're just gonna bring this guy up, Spider-Man here. And he's the same old Spider-Man that they had in many other sets in the past. And still looks good. Definitely nothing wrong with him. But people do say that he could use at least the dual molded legs, or at least painted feet to be red. I'm not a big stickler about all these kind of things, but you know, I get it. In his arm printing, you know, because they got the blue underneath, you can kind of see a little bit through. I'm not a big stickler, so it doesn't bother me much, but I know some people are really fanatics about it and they want their figures to be pinpoint. I get it. Here you have, I'm having trouble focusing on that level, so we're just gonna do it like this. You can see the armor printing on there, and there goes his face, skull face, and just some kind of smoke design of the back. He's got this cape, which is pretty much like a Batman cape type design, but they just carried it over in different color. Back of the armor there. So a cool figure in terms of the way he's done, but nobody really likes Mysterio. I don't know. He never, to me, he was always like a C-list type of villain as far as Spider-Man's, you know, enemies, but that's just me. Because he did illusions. He never actually really had, it's not like his armor was something like Iron Man type of armor. So, and here you have Miles Morales. This suit is pretty much all just mostly black with some coloring on it, but for the most part, like I said, there was that one that came with the Venom mech, and that one had like a hood, and it looked a little more like going on. So I actually have that one for my kids, but if I didn't have that one somewhere in the arsenal, or at least them having it, then I would say that I probably would think that one's like a better figure, but it doesn't make me fit for the situation at hand. Let's take a closer look at the Mech. I really like the way these fingers are, because they're already slightly curved. So it gives them that, like when he does a fist motion, it really looks nice. You got the little armor plating right there. Obviously it comes down. You attach his feet over there, like the back of the feet, the studs in the back. He's got extra articulation here, because sometimes too, especially with like say the Ninjago one, sometimes you'll have like the piece that you have in the arm here would also be used in the legs, which doesn't allow it to kind of move around, but this one does. And that might be for the fact of giving him a little bit more balance, because he's very top heavy. So it gives you kind of ability to kind of move it around a little more to get your stance. So that's pretty good, because see, sometimes it wants to fall back. So you can kind of get a little bit more articulation in the leg, which is pretty cool. A lot of detail in there. So it wasn't something that was like skimped out on. You could say, see, they put in a lot of work. If you're familiar with the way mechs are normally done from like Ninjago, they have some that are small and have like a lot less work. They're not bad, but just in relative comparison to it, this one has a lot of stuff going on in it, which I think is pretty cool. Or even some of the Iron Man mechs, some of them will skimp out where other ones have a lot more on it. Like I did a review on the Iron Man with Ultron set. Because it comes with Ultron, I guess it is a little less beefy in the mech, whereas the War Machine one that just comes with War Machine in his mech has a lot more beefiness on the mech. So that's the point I'm just trying to make here. We're gonna move everything to the side. And let's get into this build. So just a quick look at the exterior. What I'll do first is just take it off of my stand, because I just really want to be able to zoom in and get some things. I know some of the angles are going to be a lot harder once I just have it on the stand and trying to get this. So I think it looks nice, but I think it has an old school style. I feel like this is retro meets modern with the whole, and there's a play feature right here. I'm gonna mention something about this in a moment, but it feels like it's modern with the whole screens and stuff like that, similar to like a, you know, Times Square type of vibe or something like that. Everything's digital now, which makes sense. When they first came out with Spider-Man, it's all about newspapers and this and that. They try to keep a bit of that, yeah, but realistically, newspapers nowadays everything's video. So this, I would imagine, is a screen, and that's a screen too. Some people are wondering if it's a billboard. I think it's a screen because it has the time of, you know, tonight at 7 p.m. I feel like that's the kind of thing that is too instant for you to say, like, we put that up and it's got to change like in a couple hours. No, I think that is a digital sign. And okay, quick look at the side. 39th Street is the thing. They did a good job with the way they did the fire escape, you know, it serves its purpose for you to get the message across of what it's doing. So I think that's pretty cool. And then the newsstand, there's a piece inside there. This is like a round piece. I think that you can remove that and it actually doesn't hurt, and you probably have a little bit more space inside there. So that's an option if you want to do that. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull this off so that way I can kind of lift this into view. It's gonna help me a little bit easier. So here, obviously you have the double doors, and let's get a little bit more light coming in here. So you got the newsstand here. I'm sorry, the not newsstand, but the papers there. Sorry about the harsh shadows, you guys. Let me zoom in a little closer. So you got the newspapers there. You have the desktop there, and it's touchscreen, we're gonna assume, because this one doesn't have a keyboard. And you get the mug, so you can kind of do it either way, because some of them will have a keyboard. And that is the lobby floor. And then here we have the copy machine floor. This has nothing in it, but you know, you can put some stuff in it if you wanted to, or any extras or whatever the case is. Copy machine, I think, is done really nice. That's really cool. And then you have, and what's interesting is I feel like it tries to mimic some of the floors that are inside the larger set, but instead from just a smaller perspective. This is, you could say, would be just like the ball pin. Is that what they call it? Not the ball pit, the ball pin. But it's one desk, so it really would just be kind of like Peter's desk. But we're gonna get into a little bit in a few later on in the video about how you can really mod this thing up in so many different ways. And if you wanted to and have extra space, you could end up putting, you know, another desk in here or whatever the case is. And who knows, like you could even, if you wanted to, because if you thought that was like too much, that piece can just be pulled right out too. That back part, big screen with the Rhino, which obviously looks cool to have it there. But excuse me, at the same time, hiccups. At the same time, if you needed more space to get an extra row, you could pull that out. This is the little safe right here, so you got some money in there. Weird that they have that on there, but I could see that being a thing where, like, you know, a news company would probably need a budget. And I could see there are times where, you know, Jonah's like, okay, like somebody's like, I need money to maybe go on this, whatever, this trip to go cover this event or whatever the case is. And they'll go to the safe and use that. So I think that's pretty cool. Here, like I said before, Peter has the screen. And this one says drumsticks on sale. The other one that was downstairs had said empty bin. So someone's trying to erase stuff. And then we're gonna come up to the next floor. And this is Jonah's floor. Let's just take a look at that screen real quick. It says Spider-Man is the worst. You got the little coffee pot. You've got a little mug. And there's one trophy that goes up there. I put the extra one because they give you an extra one. And I just threw it up there. Yeah, the second one, I just threw it up there because why not? If I have no other place to put it, I'm just gonna throw it up there. So in my world, Jonah has two, what is it, Pulitzers or whatever. He's got a little space for his office area. So like I said, so it's very compact, but it gets the job done and it gets across what they're trying to do. So I think that's really awesome. And the top, obviously, there's really nothing here like that, but this is a space that you could occupy, someone coming to the roof. So what I want to do now is just go into some of the things, like I was mentioning, about how this is very customizable, because I think that this is a set that you can really customize, and I really think it's one of those sets that people should customize. I don't know if I got the pieces right now to customize it in that way, but I want to show a couple of things. So first off, I was actually recently doing a Star Wars mock, and in it, if anyone was following that, I was doing a capital city mock, and in it I started creating faux elevators because I didn't, you know, obviously when you make up a build, you want to know that there's a way for people to travel up and down, and I didn't have a way to kind of build a bunch of steps. It didn't have enough space in that. You can check out that video if you want. But in that build, when I came up with the concept of the faux elevators, I realized it works really good for this. So I'm going to pull out one of those elevators. This one is not attached to a wall, but I've done it before where it's attached to the side of a building structure just for the purpose of visually seeing an elevator. And there goes how I would do it with just the entranceway. And whether sometimes if I made it individualized where you could see all the way down the hall and you could build it like that. And I've done that on one of the builds, and this one, it doesn't have that. And it's using these platforms here. But anyway, not to get into what this build comes from, but my point is this elevator right here could literally be slapped into place. Obviously, like if you really built it, let me take these out just to kind of visually lean it up there against there, and you would understand what I'm trying to say. It could literally be there against the wall and integrate it into this wall. Now, these right here are 4 studs wide. You would literally just take out a portion of the 4 studs here wide, insert it in. It would fall in between the floor, and then you could do the same here and do the same here. And even though they'll be attached to the floor, if you were to, these aren't made to really be broken apart and lifted up. If you do, you got to take some of these tile work off on certain portions, like right here, to lift that up. But if you did that and then you built the elevator the way I'm describing, the elevator will lift up with the floor. And you wouldn't have to worry about that. Now, the only floor that would need some modification is this right here, that where the safe is, that black wall here where the safe is actually a hollow wall above it. Behind this is an empty studs, like there's no studs there. So this is just one of those one stud thick walls on top of the safe. You would be able to pull that wall off, pull the safe out. You might need to adjust, like there's the flat black piece that goes across all the way, a beam that goes all the way across. You might have to replace that for something that doesn't go all the way across. I don't know how many studs that would be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 studs instead of the 10 studs long. And then you'd be able to do that. But I am going to insert a clip here. So here I just wanted to show an example of that elevator while I'm in the middle of the build because it makes it a little easier. I'm just going to insert this clip in, and you could see that if this was going all the way up from here, down here, you could essentially knock out just 4 studs wide all the way down to the bottom. And then you would have what would look like essentially that, let me try to get some lighting in here, that space right there. And it will have that kind of faux elevator going all the way up the side of the building. The only floor where you would have a little bit of trouble is here. You would just have to knock out that black bar in the safe inside there, and you could do it. But yeah, you wouldn't have a problem. You'd have to obviously relocate the safe, but you would be able to do that and have this faux elevator, which you can assume, you don't have to squeeze anyone actually in it, but assume that they can fit inside it and going up and down like that. So, yep, very easy to customize that. And so returning back now from that clip, you would see how it fit in there properly on, I forget which floor that I put it on, but the point is you would see how it fit in there, and it could be done all the way along here. And the only other spot that it might seem a little weird, but it's just for the purpose of the cosmetic of it, no one has to actually use the elevator, is that you would knock this wall out, and then you would now have that kind of little opening right there, right here against this wall. So right behind it would be the opening of the elevator. Yes, you can assume with your imagination that someone just has to walk behind the person behind the desk to get to where the elevator is, because obviously it wouldn't be in the front area where somebody would access. But nonetheless, you can do that. And like I said, from the clip that I inserted, you get an idea of how that would work. So that's one major upgrade you could do if you wanted to do that. Because some people are saying, oh, like there's no way to travel up and down, and you could assume that they're taking the they're taking the fire escape, but that just isn't right, and we all know that too. So that is an option there. So, and the other thing that you can do is, because I have one of these plates laying around right now, I actually have the bricks to do this. The thing about it is the plate that I have to put in the space of the upgrade I'm going to mention now is actually occupied in that same Star Wars capital city build but it is a plate equal to one of these plates. And one thing you can do that's pretty easy, granted, you might have a little bit of issue with the fire escape, or at least how high the fire escape goes. You might have to limit how high the fire escape goes, where you make it where, you know, if you're going to extend another floor up here, you could have this one coming down, but after that, if there's any more floors going up, it wouldn't be able to be there. But you can add floors on this relatively easy, actually super easy. And even if you don't have windows, if you got like, say, tan bricks or similar to these color bricks, but you could just get away with tan because the fronts have that decor with tan. So if you just had tan, you didn't even have no more windows. You just build it up. You got a little bit of masonry bricks just to kind of like, you know, make it look a little bit like it's mixed a little bit, like how they do here on the side. And you could literally just add a couple floors if you want. And that's not even hard at all, because for the most part, they attach modularly. The only difference is because of this wall design here, you do have to remove just on this floor and this one right here to detach them. They come right off too, so it's not like a super hard thing. If you pull it up from like that, and they come right off. This one actually doesn't need it removed. I think it's just this one right here. So, but anyway, so you get the idea. You would be able to add floors to this very easy if you want, and that will allow you to do extra things like have another what do you call it again? Ball pin room, or whatever the case is. So you could do a lot with it. And like I said, if you do the faux elevator on the side, this thing can be something that is upgraded very easy. Now, granted, you don't want to make it to the point where it's going to cost you too much to do, but I just think it's a nice option if you have the pieces. I also want to make note, I've seen someone who reviewed this before who had mentioned about try to put the sticker a little bit more to the side. And on my mind, I thought it was referring to the sticker in the back that goes there, because that's that feature there. But no, let me zoom in. It's actually the sticker that's on the front. Put that one a little more to the left so you don't see as much that white on the side. I put that one normal, and I was trying to put the one in the back more to that side, thinking you could when I got to the build, and I realized you couldn't. And then I realized, all right, I already put this one down, and that was the thing. So yeah, it'll just give it more coverage, that's all. But anyway, so that's really about it. Like I said, I really like it. There is a lot of stickers, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, but I do like it. It's great for people to get into the Daily Bugle on a budget. And like I said, I think it's highly customizable, so you can have a lot of fun with it. And it's made to connect with those other sets, with the other Spider-Man sets. Once again, though, like I said, I do think this has more of a retro feel to it, like in terms of it feels, let me move this out of the way, sorry you guys, that it feels a little bit more like old school, like old school New York vibe is what I get that feeling from it, in terms of the way the building look, especially when you think of it compared to the larger $300 set. That one, $300+ set, whatever. That one is all gray, a lot of glass. It looks a lot more of like a modern building. I feel this one captures more of like maybe the 80s or the 70s in terms of like the way the colors look. So I think that's cool if you're into that, with a little bit of splash of modern because of the screens on it. But I feel like the coloring of the building is a little bit more old school. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. If you guys plan on purchasing this or not, let me know. As always, you guys, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.